Dan, so good to see you. We start with an important question. Is a trust a must? What every family should know about estate planning. When it comes to estate planning, trusts often sound complex or unnecessary, but depending on your goals and assets, a trust can be a powerful tool. So, why do you think it is that so many people assume they don't need one?
Erin, I think a lot of people think they don't need a trust because they don't understand exactly what a trust does and how it works. And it's particularly important in certain states where probate is a big part of the estate process. It could be less important in another state. For example, here in Texas, where I am, it becomes less important when you have a less complicated estate. And we can
Mm.
dig into that a little bit more. But I think finding out, really talking to a qualified person and finding out exactly what do I need? Do I need a will or do I need a trust? And then if so, what kind of trust?
Okay, so let's drill down into it then a little bit more. When does a trust make sense, and who might be better off without one?
Okay, so I'll answer that maybe coming at it another way. Who might be better
Sure.
off with one? And I think anytime when you have a complex, higher net worth estate, you have to look at the viability of a trust, particularly if you have blended families. And sometimes we do. We might have, her kids, his kids, their kids. And when you own property out of state, that's another reason that you might want to have a trust. And when you may want to have more control over your assets. So generally, these complicated matters, Erin, start to show up in higher net worth cases. In a simple case, oftentimes a properly drafted will that includes physicians, medical directives, power of attorneys, those can do the job just fine. And then again, all depends on where you live.
hmm And I'm glad you mentioned probate because I do want to ask what are the biggest advantages of using a trust, especially when it comes to probate, privacy, and control?
Well, privacy and control are big in themselves, but in probate, where an estate is going to be probated, you absolutely need a trust. For example, in a state like Florida,
Mm.
a state like Texas, and it really depends. We have clients all over the country, and everyone has a different set of circumstances. So we'll try to get the lay of the land of what's going on with the complexity of their estate, and then we'll consult with a certified trust officer or
hmm
a board certified estate planning attorney on what is this family going to need exactly to accomplish what they need to accomplish.
Right. Certainly no cookie cutter answers here. And because you've had this conversation so many times with so many different families, what are the downsides or common misconceptions you hear a lot about trusts that people should understand before setting one up?
Well, one of the first things to understand is, are you going to do a revocable or an irrevocable trust? And if you
Right.
do a irrevocable, it means just that. It's carved in stone. That trust likely has to do its own tax return. And so there's additional cost, additional filing, and it can be a different tax rate altogether for a trust. So those things certainly have to be taken into consideration. We don't want to do a trust for just the exercise of doing a trust. There has to be utility in the planning. It's got to solve for exactly what we're trying to solve for.
hmm
And the benefit has to be worth the cost and the time and the expense.
Right. Absolutely. Well, Dan, if somebody would like to sit down with you then and determine if a trust does make sense for them and their family, what's the best way to reach you?
Aaron, I think easiest, quickest way just to reach our office. The number here is 281-466-4843. And any of our advisors or myself or anyone here on the staff can have a conversation about what's going to be most helpful in your particular set of circumstances.
Great. Dan, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Nice talking to you, Aaron.